Rising concerns on the refugee rush. I'm Lilley with TheRebel.Media. When the Liberal government announced that they were going to slow down on their refugee rush, not try and bring in 25,000 people from Syria by the end of the year, that they'd drop that to 10,000, move to another 15,000 by the end of February, and that security screening would be done overseas, with those announcements I felt better. I wasn't completely satisfied, still felt that 25,000 so quickly, considering that's what we normally do in a year, is still moving faster than we need to on this. And I still had questions about the security, but I felt better than their original plan. Bring everyone here, do the security screening when they hit the ground. I thought they must have received some wise counsel from the bureaucrats. Then I went to a background briefing with bureaucrats today and asked them some questions about this very issue. I have to tell you, I'm not feeling all that confident. But first off, let me tell you what I asked during the on-camera portion. We were allowed to ask Immigration Minister John McCallum questions with cameras rolling and broadcast you his answers. The bureaucrats were only speaking on background, but I essentially asked them the same questions about thorough screening. From McCallum, I pointed out that Tashfin Malik, the wife in the San Bernardino terrorist attack, had entered the United States after passing a Department of Homeland Security screening by saying she actually came from a different town than she did. She fooled them. She was giving them false information and they weren't thorough enough. Was Canada going to be thorough enough to pick up on little dodges like that of people that do want to do us harm?
Part of the reason we can do it relatively quickly is that we have a pool of over 1 million from which to choose. And so if one of the officials doing the interview has any reason to question an individual case, well, that case will be put to the side and he or she will go on with other cases. So,
not much of an answer from McCallum. He basically dodged by saying if there's any problem, we're going to set it aside. Well, fine. During the off-the-record portion or not for attribution portion at the news conference, I asked bureaucrats about our rejection rate. As long as Canada has had a refugee program, we've had a rejection rate. We've been able to say, no, we're not bringing you in. You're not a real refugee, you're a security threat, what have you. There are plenty of reasons that people get rejected. Guess what? For the applications coming out of Syria, we don't have one, and they don't expect one. Why? Because of that set aside that McCallum said. Any questions raised, they set aside, they'll come back to it later. Well, how many people have you set aside for now? They couldn't tell me. They wouldn't tell me. They say they don't track this. And yet, that's the question that we need to know at this point. Last week, they admitted that after asking more than 40,000 people if they were interested in coming to Canada, only 1,800 had come forward and expressed an interest. Well, those numbers are up now. 59,000 people in total have been asked. 8,554 have expressed an interest as of last Friday. How many of them are going to come in? How many of them are going to be set aside? Apparently they can't tell us or won't tell us. By the way, since November 4th, just 416 people from the Syrian refugee file have been admitted into Canada. It's going probably not as well as they hoped, but for our concern, the concern has to be that they're not taking the issue of security seriously. I thought they were. Now I'm definitely not sure. In fact, some of the bureaucrats were actually annoyed that they were getting questions on this. One, in a hectoring, lecturing tone, saying that we have to believe that everyone that comes to us is a convention refugee in need of Canada's protection. No, actually, we don't. We don't. I'll believe and I'll grant that the majority of them are going to be. But when you are going into one of the most dangerous spots of the world, an area that has been torn apart by civil war, that is the home base of ISIS and other terrorist groups, other groups that have committed war crimes, I don't have to believe that every one of them is going to be a bona fide refugee. I'm going to bet there's lots of security concerns. But when one of the top people on this file decides it's his job to lecture the media on asking questions about security, that sends up red flags all over the place. We're going to continue watching and asking the tough questions the other won't on this file. We're going to continue to bring you the news, no matter how scary it might be. And this file, these sets of answers, truly, truly scary. you.